You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work. You're now watching
Good evening, folks, and welcome to Wayback Wednesday. I'm Randy Adcox. Glad you could join us tonight. Been a lot going on this week, and got to send out a few thank yous and a few shout outs to some of you who were loyal viewers of the show. And as always, I very much appreciate the feedback. I hear from several of you all during the week. I get emails and phone calls and visits, and it's always just great to hear from the viewers and to hear that you enjoy the show and that you appreciate what we're doing here. So thanks to all of you for that, but especially to, I got a couple emails over the last couple of weeks after the last couple of shows from Mr. Wallace Abernathy, and he's been very gracious at sharing some information and some knowledge and some pictures too, I might add. We'll show you some of those shortly. Also, Eric Dawson has stopped by a couple times, and I've had a couple of phone calls. Harold Winston has called, and so again, I always appreciate getting the feedback, and you know, anytime that if you happen to see a rerun, for example. Harold called me Sunday. He was watching a rerun of the show on Sunday afternoon, and had a couple things that he wanted to bring to my attention, and so I appreciate that. And you know, we've got the primary focus of this show when we first started was the Rocky Mountain and the immediate area, and you know, and we'll always keep that as a focal point. So just keep that in mind. But you know, I've started to kind of branch out a bit, and you probably noticed over the last few weeks, if you're watching regularly, you've seen we've been way out in the boonies on occasion, looking at pictures and so forth. Last couple of weeks, we visited over toward Nashville some, and I've got some more pictures to show you tonight from Nashville, going way back. And I've got some really neat pictures I found of Tarboro. So if you're from Tarboro or know anybody who is and can pick up the show, I know we've got quite a few citizens here in Rocky Mount who were born and raised and grew up in Tarboro. So if you know anybody who was from Tarboro originally and now living here and can get the show, call them up, tell them to tune in, because we've got a bunch of neat pictures that I ran across. And you know, you've heard me say before, Tarboro and Rocky Mount in particular are uniquely linked via the Tar River. It's not too much of a stretch to say that Rocky Mount probably wouldn't be here today were it not for the settlers that came up the Tar River. And so that waterway, that navigable waterway between Rocky Mount and Tarboro has been a link between these two cities well over 200 years, and certainly continues to this day. And so when I was doing some research for tonight's show, I ran across some really neat pictures that really exemplifies that link of how Tarboro and Rocky Mount were continually linked via the Tar River over the years. So you don't want to miss that. I think the first thing I want to share with you tonight, though, there was a picture on Facebook, and we've seen that picture before, but it was not a really good picture. And thanks to Mr. Wallace Abernathy, he actually was able to pull that image off of Facebook and send it to me. And it was an image that I had seen on Facebook myself, and hadn't had the forethought to save that image and share it with you. So thank goodness Wallace did, and he sent it to me this week in email. But it's the covered bridge, the old wooden covered bridge that used to be over the Tar River. And Lee, if you want to go ahead and put that picture up, you'll recognize that if you watch the show. We have shown this image before, but this is a much clearer picture. And you can see the covered bridge. This thing was built in the early 1880s, somewhere 1883, 84, somewhere along in there, and was in existence till somewhere around 1906, 1907, when it was replaced with another bridge. But another neat thing about this picture, if you look on the left-hand side of the screen there, that building is the old Rocky Mountain Mills store. Now, we've talked about that store on occasion on past shows. And one of the things that I had hoped to do this week and just didn't have a chance to do was I wanted to go down there below the dam at the falls and see if I could find this exact spot and take a picture of this area now. I suspect that big boulder in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen there is probably still there and probably looks very much today like it did, over 200 years ago. So anyway, I just thought, in fact, this picture is actually, for those that have seen that book, an illustrated picture of Rocky Mount. It was put together by, Leela Chesson and Dot and Bugs Behringer. They put that book out in 1977. This picture is on the front cover of that book. And inside, as you open the book up, there's a double picture of it, this same image right here. So, and by the way, I should also mention that I got a phone call this week from a viewer who actually had a copy of that book and graciously offered to give it to me, so I went by and picked it up. I've been having a ball browsing through that and looking at pictures in there, but this is one of those pictures, and like I said, this is the old covered bridge over the Tar River down there at Battle Park, Rocky Mount Mills. It's off to your left there, and right across the street from the mill, that white building is the old Rocky Mount Mills store. So again, it's a neat picture from a bygone era of Rocky Mount Mills down there. Okay, I mentioned Nashville at the top of the show, and last week before we got talking about Nashville and showing some pictures of Nashville, as it turns out, Mr. Wallace Abernathy grew up from Nashville, and he had some really neat pictures that he had collected over the years, and so he was very gracious in sending me some pictures that he had collected. So Lee, let's jump right into these, and the first one is the Gulf station that his father owned there in Nashville, and this would be on the, if I remember correctly, I hope I don't get this wrong, I think this is on the left-hand side of Nashville if you're headed west, right there, kind of catty-corners across the street from the courthouse, that area down there. But that was that Gulf station there on the left-hand side. I believe I'm right there. And this was, by the way, this was somewhere, I think around, Lee, can you zoom in on that a bit? I want to say it's 1944. I'm not sure exactly when it opened. Actually, it looks like he went in the Navy. I think he had the station up until 1941, and then he went in the Navy during World War II, I guess. And so anyway, I'm not sure when this picture was taken, but in any case, this was the Gulf station down there in Nashville. So I tell you what, Lee, that's all right. Go ahead, let's go to the next one, because this next picture is actually, we had some conversation about this Esso station. This is from the other end of the street down there in Nashville, and of course this is long gone now too. This was actually taken, this picture was taken in the fall of 1960. It's an old Buick there in the foreground, but this picture was taken sometime around 1960, I think is what Wallace said. But this was the Esso station. Of course, in later years Esso became Exxon, but of course this is gone too now. The next picture, Lee, go ahead and get to that one. And this is, this is the, I guess, sheriff of Nash County back in the 1940s. This was Mr. Abernathy's grandfather, and I think on the right there, and one of his deputies there on the left. I understand he was a no-nonsense kind of fella that kind of ruled the area around there in the 1940s, but and he looks the part. He looked like he'd be a tough cookie to deal with if you got on his bad side. So, but anyway, this is from 1943, and this is that Gulf station again. Okay, let's go ahead and Lee. This next picture is the same picture from 1951, and a little further back, taken give a little better view of the building itself. And again, if memory serves, we had a phone call discussion about this, and it was explaining to me roughly where this was. And I think, if I remember correctly, somewhere down that general area of where the CVS drugstore is now. I think that's what I remember him telling me. And so again, this was from 1951, and it was his father's station, the Gulf station down there, at one time anyway. Okay, Lee. We also last week talked about a Joiner's Drive-In, and this is an aerial shot of Joiner's Drive-In from, I'm guessing just by looking at these cars, probably from the, I don't know, 1960s maybe. It's hard to tell for sure. I'd be curious to know who took this picture, but I would guess Charlie Killebrew. I guess it could have been any number of people, but Charlie took a lot of aerial photographs, obviously, and I think Bugs Manger did too on occasion. But anyway, this was an aerial shot of the Joiner's Drive-In. And again, this wasn't dated, but I'm thinking somewhere in the 1960s, just looking at the cars and the pickup truck and all in the parking lot there. By the way, if you've got a member you want to share with us, 407-1111, and I don't keep the phones ringing. Let's get this call. Hello there, you on the air?
All right, that picture you're looking at right there now was drive-in in the 1956 Carolina Telephone Directory. It was listed as being located at 516 East Washington Street, and on that site right there now is the Nashville Baptist Church.
How about that? Okay.
2 blocks after you come east from the Cooley corner, on the left-hand side of the road right there, close to where 4th Street dead ends against Washington Street. It was a very popular drive-in, hot dog, hamburger joint. They also sold beer. I talked to my wife's aunt, who was born in 1933, and she told me that it was, I don't know what year that place closed or anything about it, but I remember that place very well. When I got my driver's license in 1960, it was a very popular location to ride all over Rocky Mountain and drive to Nashville and get around that place.
Do they have inside dining too?
They did.
Yeah, okay. Well, that was a little unusual for a drive-in, I guess. Well, not all. I mean, some of them did, obviously, but yeah, that's neat. Okay, buddy. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate that. All right. Okay, so this next picture, Lee, you can go ahead and pull this next one up. This is just Nashville, downtown Nashville, and I'm not sure of the time frame of this picture here. I'm guessing this is obviously a fairly modern picture, and it looks like fairly modern. I would say it's in the last 5 or 10 years, perhaps newer than that even. But anyway, this is kind of give you an idea of what things look like. This is, in fact, Lee, can you pan this picture to the right? I think if you pan to the right, you can actually see a section of the new administrative building down there in downtown Nashville. I'm not sure. I may have cut it off when I saved this thing to the flash drive tonight. That's the whole picture? Okay, I guess I did. I must have chopped it off. I didn't realize it. But anyway, okay. But yeah, this is obviously down there, not too far down from the courthouse down there. And we had some discussion about this building last week, and I forgot. I want to say maybe was it the Western Auto? I've got some other pictures. Let's go ahead. Maybe we can kind of put 2 and 2 together here. Let's go to the next one then, Lee. This is the old courthouse building here, and this looks to be from the early 1900s maybe. And it's the courthouse and the grand jury building. And this was not, I don't think this one was dated. If it is, if it was, I didn't make it in my notes. But in any case, it looks to be early 1900s, 1910, maybe somewhere along in there. Okay, Lee, this next picture is actually and we showed this picture last week too, but Wallace sent it to me in his collection. I figured I'd just add it in and leave it in there because it does give us another shot looking west on, I'm sorry, I might be looking backwards here. But anyway, this is obviously downtown Nashville too. I think that's looking west. Hard to say for sure, but I think it may be. Someone will know. 407-1111 is our number here. But that's that little Corvair. I remember that from last week's show, and I forgot which these group of young ladies were. It may have been the Booker T. Washington High School. I'm not sure. I know that we had their band, their marching band was up. I'm not sure if this was part of that or not. But anyway, I'm guessing early 1960s, 64, 65 maybe. Not sure what model Corvair that is, but somewhere in that time frame. 66, I see now. I've got maybe something note here. 1966 was when this picture was made. All right, Lee, let's go to the next one then. This next one is Washington and Austin Street looking west, 1959 was how it was captioned. And as you can see, there's been quite a bit of change in this part of Nashville over the years. much more residential in this area here now than there was back then. Again, this was 1959, Washington Street, Austin Street, looking west towards 64 bypass. Of course, well before 64 bypass came through down there, but that's where it was pointing. So, okay. All right, Lee, this next picture, we'll jump to the next one, is actually from 1905 and 1910, and obviously still dirt roads out in Nashville. This is looking east, back toward Rocky Mount, and on the right-hand side, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello there, you on the air?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Harold.
That photo you had there of the downtown section of Rocky Mount. To the left, you can see the driveway entrance there. To the left, to the Abernathy XSO station.
Is that previous picture?
Yeah, the previous picture.
Go back one more, Lee, if you would, to that prior picture we were just looking at. Okay, there you go. On the left-hand side, you mean?
Of the island there, of course.
Right.
But as you notice, the wide driveway on the left,
Right.
that's the entrance to that
Gulf Station.
SO station.
Is it the SO? Okay.
SO, Exxon, or whatever was SO in those days.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I see
The distributor for SO was there in Nashville, the Jordan family. Mm-hmm. And they retained that, I guess, through the years. My dad was a merchant out on 58 Highway and was one of the customers that he had. But the Abernathys operated that station for many years there, which your friend is very familiar with.
Yes.
Part of his family.
Okay. All right.
So that's a good shot. Thank you, guys.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Okay. All right, Lee, so let's go back then, or forward, to that picture where the 1905, 1910, and again, this was at a period before roads were paved in downtown Nashville, and so not a whole lot going on down there. You see a drugstore down the right-hand side, and this, of course, is looking east again toward Rocky Mount. Somewhere, and this may predate, I'm not sure what year that movie theater. If you remember, we talked about last week about a movie theater, and it was somewhere along in this area on the right-hand side, I think. That tall building may have been it. I wouldn't bet money on it. I'm not exactly sure where at on Main Street this was at, but in any case, this is from 1905 to 1910. I'll tell you what, Lee, bring it back to me. I think we're at a good point to take a quick commercial break. I've got a few more in this Nashville collection to share with you. We'll get to those when we come back from the break. And then I'm going to take you to Tarboro and show you some really old pictures, really neat pictures of Tarboro, North Carolina. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll jump back into the rest of these Nashville pictures and then move on to Tarboro. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Wayback Wednesday.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Hello, my name is Gus Tullis of Gus Tullis Insurance, and I've been helping people with their insurance needs for well over 20 years. If you're turning 65 or you're currently on Medicare, I can help you make the best decision for the Medicare plan that will suit your needs. Don't wait. Call me today. I'll answer any question you have. 252-937-6913. Looking forward to hearing from you.
If finding money for Christmas presents this year has got you down, don't worry. We've got your back at Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun. Cash loans for Christmas are our specialty. If you need money, come see us. Find a gift for anyone on your list or something special for yourself. Just look at our display case for gold, silver, and diamond jewelry. Check out our electronics gun section and our collection of beautiful estate jewelry. We specialize in new and used guns. Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun, serving you for over 25 years. 443-1668, 2522 Sunset Avenue, Rocky Mount.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornerstone Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service, we offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family, and we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornerstone Funeral Home.
When faced with special care needs for elderly or disabled loved ones, families want compassionate, comforting care. That's Tender Touch Home Care Services' goal, providing the level of care we would expect for our own. With over 10 years of home care excellence, Tender Touch provides an array of services that keeps your loved one at home. From personal care, light housekeeping, errands, and meal preparation, to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
We're in our 18th year of practice at the Hammer Chiropractic Center, and we've seen over 15,000 different people in the Rocky Mount area. 40% of headaches actually come from a neck problem. Many patients come in taking multiple aspirin, over-the-counter medications and such a day, and we can get you to stop doing that and actually fix the problem so the headaches don't rise anymore. A lot of people think chiropractic hurts. It does not. Most of the people come in and they feel great when they leave.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
And we're back. During the break, I realized, and I want to clarify one thing. I think I misidentified. Wallace was kind enough to put some very detailed descriptions. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call first. Hello there, you on the air?
Hello?
Hello, Eric. How are you, buddy?
All right. Before you get going from those pictures about Nashville, the picture, a couple of pictures back where you were showing that Corvette automobile, store in the background that was Western Auto. In the 1956 Carolina Telephone Directory, that store was listed as being at 312 West Washington Street, meaning that Western Auto store was on the same side of the street that the courthouse was on, because Abernathy's Esso was listed in that same year as being at 101 West Washington Street. They would have been on opposite sides of the street if you want to determine which way the Corvette was driving, either east or west.
So you're saying it was pointed east? Is that right?
Well, the Western Auto store behind that Corvette was on the same side of the street that the courthouse is on.
Oh, okay. So it would have been pointed west then, headed out of Nashville, or headed towards 64.
It headed towards Castalia.
Right.
All
Now,
right.
let me ask you why you've got your city director there, because I was just fixing to correct what I had said earlier. Wallace, when he identified these pictures, he identified the Gulf station as the one that his father ran, not the Esso.
Okay, well, I don't know anything I didn't know Wallace's parents, but Wallace's daddy run an Esso station that was on the corner where that drugstore was built.
The CVS.
Across the intersection from where that church was, that they've turned into a venue for music to be played.
Right. Okay.
Abernathy's Esso was.
That's where it's identified in the city directory?
I'm looking at the 1956 Carolina Telephone Directory.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Cool. Okay. All righty.
I don't know never heard anything about Wallace's daddy having a Gulf station over there. I did not know Wallace's parents, but Wallace is about my age.
Right.
And I knew him back from the time you were born.
Okay.
Right.
All right, buddy. Thank you now. Have a good one. Okay. And we've actually got a few more pictures too, 3 or 4 of Nashville. So anyway, let's jump back in. We'll go ahead and finish these last few Nashville pictures up, and then we'll take a journey right over toward Tarboro. So go ahead and put that next picture up. And this next one is actually, it's identified, I think this picture on the image itself, it's got, there you go, Main Street looking east. And this was actually, let's see, 1905 to 1910 roughly. And so let's see, that's the one we looked at earlier, same one. Okay, all right, let's go to the next one then. I think this next one is the one that's identified as looking west. There you go. And again, we still got dirt streets here. This is from 1934, if I'm looking at the right one. I think that's what I'm looking at here. This is a little fuzzy, a little blurry, but in any case, the last one I think I've got in this group. That next picture in sequence, Lee, is it identified anything to do with Nashville? I think this may be the last one. I'm sorry?
Nashville Lodge.
The next picture is Nashville. Well, okay, but let's bring that one up then. There you go. There you go. This is from 1934. I thought there was one more in this grouping. Yeah, this is from 1934. This is a really clear picture here. On the right-hand side, you can see the courthouse there. This is looking west, headed toward Castalia. And so from what Eric was just saying, that I guess that Corvair would have been pointing in this same direction, headed out of town with the 3 girls in it a while ago. But anyway, you can see the old Model Ts there, and all the cars on the main drag there. It looks like they appear to be paved roads here in this picture here. 1934, I'm not sure what time they paved those roads, but it looks to be paved roads. Hard to tell for sure, but I would say they were probably paved roads in 1934. Okay, so that's the end of these pictures, and we may end up with some more. I've actually stumbled across some more pictures too of old Nashville, so I may try to get those on a later show, perhaps next week. But during some of my phone calls I had with in the email exchange and so forth, Wallace relayed a story to me that I thought was really interesting. It seems that sometime many years ago over toward Tarboro, there was some old unexploded ordnance, bombs if you will, that were found in the Tar River. And somehow or another these bombs, these unexploded ordnance, ended up being stored over at the church, the Episcopal church over in Tarboro. And so the story goes that not knowing what they had, they contacted Wallace, and he went over and looked at the things and determined they were from the Civil War, and that they still had the powder charge. And of course, they, after being submerged in the river for so many years, there was no real risk of them exploding. The paper fuses had been wet so much it lost all their powder, if you will, so there was really no way they could go off. But they ended up somehow or another being stored in the top of this church, I guess in the attic or somewhere in the church upstairs. And so anyway, Lee, let's go ahead and put this next picture up then. And this is one of those, well, the first picture is at the church itself. This is the Calvary Episcopal Church over in Tarboro. And yeah, this church has a lot of neat history too. This church was actually, the beginnings of this church date back to the early 1700s. I mean, prior to the Revolutionary War. Now, the church itself was built around 1833, I think it was. But the people who started this church had been congregating, if you will, for almost 100 years prior to the church itself being built. So there's a lot of history here, and this building, as I said, at least this church, I'm not sure this is the exact same building that the first church was built, but the Episcopal Church in Tarboro dates back to 1833. So anyway, somewhere in this church, these Civil War ordnance, these old bombs were stored. And so, Lee, the next picture is actually one of these shells. And if you can go ahead and pull that up for us, there you go. And a little story here says the mystery of Calvary Episcopal Church Confederate artillery shells. And you can see they're all rusted, of course. They were spent many years in the Tar River. And I guess that opening in the end there on the top end of each of those shells, I'm guessing, was where the fuse was originally. And they used a paper fuse that was, I guess, rolled up, something along the line of a cigarette, I'm thinking. And within the rolled up cigarette, if you will, would have been the powder charge, the fuse, the fuse. And then it would have, when it was lit, when it was fired off and that fuse lit, then the powder inside, the charge inside the shell would explode the shell and send shrapnel everywhere. So I can only imagine, these are 20-pounder shells. They're 3.6 inches diameter, almost 10 inches long. Obviously very heavy and would do a lot of damage. And there's, I think there's a couple more pictures in this same. Let's go to the next one, and we'll go ahead and go through these. There you go. That shows back up. There you go. That shows the paper fuse on the right-hand side, upper right-hand side, and of course it uses black powder, gunpowder, and you can see how it says a paper fuse in a wood adapter. So I'm guessing this would have been shoved down inside that hole. I'm not exactly sure how it would have been set off unless it would have been lit as it was before it was placed in the cannon and then fired off. But in any case, obviously quite a bit of damage could be done by these things whenever they hit anything. I think there's one more, Lee, in this grouping, so let's go ahead to that one. There you go. This is showing some of the artillery weapons that would have fired off these guns. These shells. And, I'm not sure if it's the exact same one, but I think this is very similar to that gun over there sitting outside the courthouse in Nashville. Don't quote me, I could be wrong about that, but my memory is that it looks very similar to these anyway. The shells are still over there, I understand. I've not had a chance to get over to Tarboro and take a look-see myself, but I understand that the church has these on display somewhere in the church, these old mortar shells, and you can go over and take a look at them if you're interested in that kind of stuff, Civil War history. But anyway, I thought that was neat, and a lot, Tarboro, we talked a lot about Rocky Mountain history, but Tarboro certainly has a tremendous amount of history. Tarboro was settled far prior to Rocky Mountain being settled, and so they had a long and storied history before Rocky Mountain ever really got off the ground good, as far as being a city, and being an established community. But there's just an awful lot of history in Tarboro and around the Tarboro area that literally dates back to the beginning days of this country. And so I thought it fitting that we explore a little bit of Tarboro and look at some pictures from Tarboro. So with that being said, let's go to the next picture. This next picture is actually around 1938, and this is the Edgecombe County Prison Camp. And if you remember, we talked on the show 3 or 4 weeks back about the old prison camp out there across from Battle Park, across the Highway 64. And basically these camps were for road crews that would work up inside the road, clearing debris off the side of the road, trimming bushes, hedges, trees, cutting grass, that kind of thing. And so a lot of these prison camps were sprung up just to house these road crews, these prisoners that worked these road crews. And so this is one, and I'm not sure where this was in Tarboro, Edgecombe County Prison Camp, but it doesn't identify in this picture anyway where it was located at. But this was along the same veins of that prison camp over there across the highway from Battle Park, across Highway 64. Okay, Lee, this next picture is actually a neat one. This is from the 1890s. And this is when the circus came to Tarboro. And if you look up there on that wagon, that's actually a clown. If you can zoom in, Lee, I'm not sure how clear it'll zoom, but that's a clown driving that horse and buggy. And you see little kids running along beside it, excited to know the circus is in town. And there's a little kind of a marquee back there talking about the matinee. And so this was, again, from the early 1900s, actually. I'm sorry, it says 1890s, this picture. There you go. You can see the clown now up there on the wagon. But this was captioned from the 1890s when the circus came to Tarboro. Okay. We've talked a little bit about well, a little bit. We talked a whole lot over the last year or so about Rocky Mountain Mills and what kind of history there is there and what it meant to the development of Rocky Mount. A lot of you may not know that Tarboro had a cotton mill too. And along the same vein as Rocky Mount, that was a big part of Tarboro's development. And this next picture is a picture of the old cotton mill there in Tarboro. It's actually not a picture, it's more like a drawing, I guess is a better way to say it. Let's bring that one up, Lee, if you would. And there you go. Can you zoom out on this one? There you go. This is the Tarboro cotton mill. I'm not sure where this was. I don't recall ever seeing or hearing anything about the Tarboro cotton mill before. But this was obviously from the late 1800s. In fact, this image was captured in 1897. Obviously not as old as the original Rocky Mountain Mills. Rocky Mountain Mills was started in 1818. But in any case, there was certainly a cotton mill there. A lot of cotton being grown in Edgecombe County, even to this day. And so the mill used that cotton, and certainly the fiber was spun into thread to make clothing. The seeds were used to produce oil. And if you go to the next picture, Lee, this is a picture of the old cotton yard, and this was from the early 1900s. You see the bales of cotton there, and the farmers would bring the cotton to market, and then, like I said, it would be processed. The cotton bolls themselves would be spun out into cloth, and then the cotton seeds were sent to a oil company, a mill, I should say, to produce cotton oil. And the next picture, Lee, if you would go ahead, let's put that one up. This next picture is actually an image of the Tar River Oil Company, and this picture was dated 1910. I'm not sure where this was, and I don't recall hearing about any such mill in Rocky Mount. There may have been, I just don't recall hearing about one, but they took the seeds from the cotton bolls and produced cotton oil from them. And I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing maybe it was used in lanterns perhaps. It could have been any number of things. But in any case, this was the Tar River Oil Company circa 1910. Okay. This next picture, Lee, let's go ahead and bring the next one up on the screen here. This is not a terribly old picture here, but the building itself is. This is the Tarboro Colonial Theater. And maybe someone who's a little more familiar with Tarboro than I am remembers where this was, and I'm not sure it's still standing today. This building may have been torn down by now, but it was obviously a very old building. In fact, this particular building was built in 1919. It stopped being a movie theater in the late 1970s or early 80s, from what I read today. But it was also used as a church. After it stopped being a movie theater, it became a church. And I'm not sure when this picture was taken or when this caption was done, but the caption says, "Today the building is empty and in need of repair, but funds are being raised to go toward a restoration." So somewhere, I'm guessing not too far off Main Street, downtown Tarboro maybe is where this building is. Just judging by those cars, this picture looks like it was made perhaps in the 1970s, maybe early 80s. But I don't recall ever hearing anything about the Colonial Theater in Tarboro. But this building, as I said, was built in 1919, so it goes way back in Tarboro's history too. All right, Lee, I'll tell you what, bring it back to me. Just about time for another, in fact, we're a little past time for a commercial break, so we'll take our next commercial break. When we come back, folks, let's get this call first. Hello there, you on the air?
Randy.
Yes, sir.
Talking about that theater. It's still there.
Is it really? Okay, where's it at?
It's on Main Street, and it's being used now as a memorial for veterans.
No kidding.
And the vacant lot that you see beside of it, there's a mural.
Okay.
There of 4 different wars, and also they've got a brick thing just like we have it at our Rocky Mountain.
Where you could buy bricks to honor veterans?
That's right. And then if you go on around at the back, there's another building that's used for a museum as well.
Now, that's not the same place where the old Tarboro Chamber of Commerce was at one time, is it?
I believe the Commerce is on the other side of that vacant lot that I'm talking about.
Okay, I know the area you're talking about then. I sure do.
The building's still there. To tell you the truth, it looks almost like it does in the picture.
Really?
You know what I mean? It's just cleaned up a little bit, but
Right.
the mural it looks good on the side there. It looks.
I'll have to ride over there. I tell you, doing this research for tonight's show, I really got kind of piqued my interest in some of the old Tarboro history, and I got an urge to ride over there. I didn't have time today, but I think I'm going to ride over there this weekend, just take some pictures over there today.
Don't say too much about Civil War because you'll be having some people want to tear it down. So.
Yeah, I know, it's a shame.
man.
I know what you mean. Okay, buddy. All right, thank you. Have a good night. Okay. I'll tell you what, let's take a break, leave. When we come back, folks, I got some more pictures to show you of Old Tarboro and some really neat pictures of some old steamboats on the Tar River. So don't want to miss that. We'll be right back with more Wayback Wednesday.
Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Hello, my name is Gus Tullis of Gus Tullis Insurance, and I've been helping people with their insurance needs for well over 20 years. If you're turning 65 or you're currently on Medicare, I can help you make the best decision for the Medicare plan that will suit your needs. Don't wait. Call me today. I'll answer any question you have. 252-937-6913. Looking forward to hearing from you.
If finding money for Christmas presents this year has got you down, don't worry. We've got your back at Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun. Cash loans for Christmas are our specialty. If you need money, come see us. Find a gift for anyone on your list or something special for yourself. Just look at our display case for gold, silver, and diamond jewelry. Check out our electronics gun section and our collection of beautiful estate jewelry. We specialize in new and used guns. Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun, serving you for over 25 years. 443-1668, 2522 Sunset Avenue, Rocky Mount.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornerstone Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service, we offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family, and we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornerstone Funeral Home.
When faced with special care needs for elderly or disabled loved ones, families want compassionate, comforting care. That's Tender Touch Home Care Services' goal, providing the level of care we would expect for our own. With over 10 years of home care excellence, Tender Touch provides an array of services that keeps your loved one at home. From personal care, light housekeeping, errands, and meal preparation, to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
We're in our 18th year of practice at the Hammer Chiropractic Center, and we've seen over 15,000 different people in the Rocky Mount area. 40% of headaches actually come from a neck problem. Many patients come in taking multiple aspirin, over-the-counter medications and such a day, and we can get you to stop doing that and actually fix the problem so the headaches don't rise anymore. A lot of people think chiropractic hurts. It does not. Most of the people come in and they feel great when they leave.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
And we're back. Folks, if you're just tuning in, you're watching Wayback Wednesday. I'm Randy Adcox. Glad you could join us tonight. During the break, I had a call from a viewer who's, I guess, from Tarboro originally, and was telling me a neat little story about there was a cotton oil mill on Fountain Street in Tarboro. I'm not sure if that was the same location of this Tar River Oil Company, but, you know, he was also saying that the cotton mill in Tarboro had some very early startups too, and so it's possible that cotton mill in Tarboro could be as old as, well, I won't say as old as the one in Rocky Mount, but it could have been built originally anyway in the same general time frame. Keep in mind the Rocky Mount mill burned twice. Burned once accidentally, and then the Union troops burned it again when they came through in 1863. So it's possible that the Tarboro cotton mill could have also been built and burned and redone, and so we don't know for sure about that. But in any case, there was a cottonseed oil mill on Fountain Street in Tarboro too at some point. Okay. All right, so getting back into our pictures, this next picture is actually was captioned Easter Monday in 1939. And as you can see, okay, there's the Colonial Theater. And okay, here we go. As you can see, it snowed that Easter Monday in Tarboro, downtown Tarboro, Tarboro, North Carolina. And hard to say for sure. They did a pretty good job of clearing the snow off the street there. But obviously had a goodly amount of snow. Looks like a few inches anyway. And this was, I guess you'd say, a late snow for Tarboro. I mean, Easter, that would have been April or so, late March, early April. But in any case, this was in 1939 that Tarboro had this snow, I won't say snowstorm, but had snow. So I guess they consider it a storm anyway. All right, Lee, let's go to the next picture. This next picture is actually, this is Main Street in 1958. If you'll notice, Lee, take a quick gander at this picture here, folks. Kind of keep this in your mind. And Lee, go back one picture, and if you'll notice, that clock tower is in both of these pictures. In this picture here, it's further back in the background on your left-hand side of your screen. And then Lee, go to the other picture, and there it is much closer up. So it's the same view, roughly same angle, roughly 20 years apart. The first picture was from 1938 or 39, and this picture, there you go, 1939 in this picture, and then the other picture. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello there, you on the air?
Randy,
Yes, sir.
back on the Colonial Theater building, I know you left it a couple pictures ago,
Right.
but Mr. Joel Boyne, who was a prominent lawyer in Tarboro and a ex-World War II Marine, put a lot of money into the Colonial Theater. In fact, I think he bought it and led a campaign to rejuvenate the whole thing, and then they put this nice mural from World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, and all on the side, and then that brickyard along there, and then the museum is actually the old police department.
Okay.
Got connected by a parking lot around behind there.
You know, I've met Mr. Bourne. Years ago, my brother and his wife used to rent a home from Joel Bourne. He had a farm out there on 64 between Rocky Mount and Tarboro. Probably still does. Yeah.
Huh?
But they rented a little farmhouse from him, and I was out there one day and had an opportunity to meet him. I never realized that about him, though.
But he did a lot for the Veterans Museum, and also, I don't know, I put in a plug for that museum. There's not one around like it, but they probably got over 1,000 pictures of different servicemen in there.
Now, see, I now got to go to Tarboro. I've been saying I want to go now. I'm doing this research now.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I think.
I'm glad you told me. Okay, buddy, appreciate that.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Okay. Yeah, at one time, several years ago, there was a little small veterans display inside the Tarboro Chamber of Commerce building over there on Main Street, and I had an opportunity to do some work in there several years ago, and I remember that. So apparently they outgrew that space and got in this other building, and so I definitely want to ride over there now and take a look at it. That's like a neat place to visit. Okay, Lee. Got another shot of Tarboro Main Street. This is the next picture. Go ahead and pull that next one up. This is from Christmas of it just says Christmas 1950s. And so there you go. And you can see, I'm not sure what day this was, even what month. I'm guessing December. You see the Christmas decoration there. And it was just captioned as 1950. But this was a pretty impressive snow here. I seem to recall reading or hearing about a pretty big snow somewhere around 1958, so that could have been when this was. But as you can see, that snow's piled pretty deep there on the side of the street, and even over on the sidewalk on the left, you can see that looks to be maybe a foot deep almost. Definitely a pretty hefty snow there. And this was from, this says Tarboro Main Street, Christmas 1950s. Okay, I mentioned earlier about the Tar River and about its link to Rocky Mount, how it linked Rocky Mount and Tarboro together. We talked a little bit a while ago about the cotton and the cotton seed and the oil and the fiber and so forth. And while I was looking up stuff for tonight's show, I stumbled across some really neat pictures of an old Tarboro steamboat. It was called the Tarboro, of course. And this next picture, these next 3 or 4, there's the picture of the boat itself, a little bit of a distance. And it was a steam-powered river boat, and it was called the Tarboro. It actually had a sister ship that looked almost identical to it called the Shiloh. Now, you know, you don't think about these kind of boats in the Tar River because, frankly, around Rocky Mount, the Tar River, unless we get a really, really heavy rain or a flood or something, there's just not enough water in the Tar River for these kind of boats to navigate up and down. But as you go east from Rocky Mount on the Tar River, and especially on the other side of Tarboro, it gets much deeper, much wider as it goes further on eastward toward the Pamlico Sound. The Tar River is very much, and still to this day, in fact, very much navigable and is indeed navigated on a regular basis. You get down around Greenville, you can see some 30 and 40-foot yachts cruising up and down Tar River on a daily basis. But this was the steamboat Tarboro. This began construction in 1898, and let's go ahead and blow through. There's about 4 pictures that show the construction process of building this old steam paddle boat in the late 1800s. 1898 is when this boat was put together. So I think there's 4 pics in this segment, so we'll just go ahead and go through these real quick, just kind of get an idea of what the construction process was like. There you go. There's laying the hull there and the side of the ship. I say ship. It was a pretty good sized boat anyway. I don't know if you want to call it a ship or not, but there's being built on the side of the riverbank, obviously. Okay, let's go ahead to the next one. Like I said, I think there's 4. There you go. They got the decking laid down on top of the boat there. And let's go to the next one, Lee. There you go. And there you're building that top part of the boat there. And I think there's one more, Lee, in this grouping of the construction of the Tarboro. There you go. This gentleman here was one of the gentlemen who was working on construction of that boat. I mentioned that there was a sister boat to the Tarboro, and it was called the Shiloh. And if you look at the picture between the Tarboro boat and the Shiloh boat, they look almost identical. This next picture, Lee, go ahead and let's put that up. This is the Shiloh right there. And as you can see, you see the bales of cotton on the boat there on the deck. And, you know, this thing was used to haul. Keep in mind, you know, there was a ready-made waterway between, say, Rocky Mount all the way down to the coast, and indeed up into the intercoastal waterway out to the ocean. So this was a common way of transporting cotton from inland to markets further east toward the shore, and then from there up and down the eastern seaboard. Okay, Lee, let's go to I think there's 3 pics in this segment of the Shiloh. Let's go ahead and, there you go, there's another picture of it. Looks like it could have been raining in this picture, and they had to cover up the cotton to keep from getting wet. Got tarps hanging over the side there. And I think there's one more in this picture. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello there, you on the air?
Hey, man.
Hey, Harold.
As I understand it, we were exporters of tar, and those barrels probably included were full of tar.
Could have been. That's very possible.
I understand in those days quite a bit of tar was exported down the Tar River from our pines.
Yep, I've heard that too, and that makes perfect sense. And again, that was a product that was used outside of this area, and this was a good way to ship it up and down the entire East Coast.
It's probably either tar or bootleg White Lightning, but it's in those barrels, I suspect.
Yep, very well could have been. There you go.
On the boat.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Okay. All right, Lee, let's go ahead. I think we got 1 or 2 more in this segment. And there you go. There, you can see the bales of cotton on that good. This is the Shiloh too, by the way, and like I said, it was a sister ship to the Tarboro, and this was taken on the Tar River. So, and this was around 1900, by the way. All these pictures, the ships were built about 1898 at 1900, and so I'm not sure how long they operated, but certainly for several years. And there you go. There's another one, the Shiloh. And then there's a dock. This next picture is the picture of the Tarboro dock. There you can see the folks stand up down the dock. You can see the paddle wheel in the back. This thing was loaded down with, you know, I said bales of cotton. There could be other things too. That could be flour, could be any number of things bagged up there. But in any case, steam-powered paddle boat. Hard to believe this was going up down the Tar River. Oh, we got a call. Hello there, you on the air?
How did they turn them boats around in that river?
That's a good question. I would imagine they probably had people standing on the side of the banks with poles and ropes and stuff to turn them around, because there are certain parts where it would not have been able to turn around. So, I mean, not on its own, I mean. I'm sure it had to be kind of one end spun around, other end spun around, but I would guess ropes and poles.
Okay.
All right, have a good one. Okay, Lee, I think we got one more. There you go. This is actually the barracks. This building here, this home was actually built on an old campground from I think the Revolutionary War, maybe. It was built around 1858. It predates the Civil War, obviously. In the last picture, Lee, this is the barracks today. This house has been extensively renovated. This thing is on the National Historical Registry. Kind of brings to mind Mac Haven here in Rocky Mount, but just a grand old plantation-style home, and certainly a gem of a historical building there in Tarboro. Folks, that's going to do it for us tonight. Lee, bring it back to me. Folks, I want to thank you all for tuning in. We've run slam out of time, but it's been my absolute pleasure to be with you tonight. Those that called in and shared your memories and your knowledge of these pictures, I certainly appreciate it. And look forward to seeing you next week with some more Wayback Wednesday. So until then, have a great week. Take care of yourselves and be kind to each other, folks. We'll see you next week with more Wayback Wednesday. Good night.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.